Oh, spotlight. Hi, I'm Carl. I'm here to tell you all about Futel. Before that, let me give the shout out to Duo Security, my employer, because they sent me out here. None of the stuff I'm doing here is really relevant to my day job as a software engineer at Duo, but they're very supportive of what I do, including getting me out here to talk. So, and we're hiring in a lot of different aspects. So, if you're looking for something, let me know. All right. I'm going to tell you what Futel is and several aspects about why we do it and the services we provide. And I want to talk at the end about evaluating projects like this. What Futel is a phone company. We install payphones and other phones too, but mostly our phones are payphones, but you don't have to pay to use them. They're free to use. We use payphones because they are the types of phones that you can leave out on the street all night and let anyone use them, no matter what their frame of mind. We've been operating since 2014. It's run by myself and several other volunteers. We have 5 public payphones right now, free payphones right now, on sidewalks and alleys in Portland and Ypsilanti, Michigan, Portland, Oregon. So here's a phone on a sidewalk in Portland. Here's another phone on a sidewalk in Portland. All of these phones are publicly accessible 24 hours a day. Here's a phone on a sidewalk in Portland. This one isn't a payphone, it's a stainless steel security phone. Here's a phone in an alley in Portland. I really like this one. Well, I like it because it's our most recently installed phone. But I also like it because it's a little off the beaten path, so you have to kind of find it. And people who use this tend to play with it a lot more. You can see the light of the phone if you walk down the street near the alley, and that kind of draws people in. And here's the phone in Ypsilanti, Michigan. I like this one, first of all, because Ypsilanti is great, a great town, but this one's on the wall of the old Bell Telephone switching building. And we also have a phone at Right to Dream 2 in Portland. Right to Dream 2 is a houseless rest area is how they pitch it. It's basically it's temporary housing for houseless people. This is an old photo of Right to Dream 2. Now they occupy kind of tiny houses. They have some dorm-like tents, but they have a lot of tiny houses that are like maybe 5 by 10, 6 by 12, something like that. A kind of a lot of them, and other services too, showers, a phone, a kitchen, stuff like that. This phone is not publicly accessible because they can decide who gets to use it. I just say, we're going to be your phone company. Let you do whatever you want in it. So they use it for their residents, but they also use it for their administrative stuff. They do conferences on it, stuff like that. I just like to support Right to Dream. We also have an incoming line. We have several incoming lines. You can call any of these phones directly. But we also have an incoming line that you can access some of our services on. And various other media too. We got zines. We got a website, SoundCloud, stuff like that. Just handbooks, various other media that isn't directly part of the phones, but they are part of the whole project and essential to the project. I really like having the zines because you can just hand it to someone. You go, here, have a zine. They're cheap. They're great to distribute. All right. So what do these phones offer? All of our services are free, and the most important feature we offer is outgoing calls. To most of North America, and that's by far what people use the phones for most. They walk up and they make a call. We also have incoming calls. You can hang around the phones and wait for a call, or you can call back and forth, stuff like that. We offer voicemail. You can set up your voicemail from any of our phones, and then you can access the voicemail or leave a message from the phones, but also from the incoming line. We have various directories. There's a menu-driven system on all the phones with several directories of useful numbers, which are mostly social service numbers, crisis lines, mental health resources, just things that will be interesting to people, bus schedules, your library card, all sorts of interesting stuff like that, but useful stuff, stuff that people would want to use if they don't have a phone in their pocket or their house, or if they do. And we also have directories of interesting numbers, artistic or just puzzling numbers, really. Anything that's interesting to me, I like to put it on the phone. A large menu of error messages that I found. Fun or interesting or just technically interesting error messages that have an incoming line for whatever reason. One of my favorite features is the Payphone shotgun. It will ring every payphone I know of that takes an incoming line simultaneously until someone picks it up. Always looking for incoming payphone numbers, by the way, if anyone knows of any. And I've spent some nights at the phone drinking and just calling people, seeing who likes to talk. Also, a service on the phone, which isn't really an official service, but people write numbers on the phone. People write all sorts of messages on the phone, like, where were you? I was expecting to call you, or stuff like that. So there's kind of a text messaging implemented on the phones also. But people write down numbers on there, so I call people up. Hey, I saw your number. How's it going? I called up one guy. He's like, oh, oh, where are you? What you doing? And he told me where he was. He's like, I'm just sitting around smoking a doobie. And I was like, me too. I'm calling people. How's it going? We have a connection to, not a connection, but we call the Collectors Network, which is a lot of phone history things you can call. You can call various old switch boxes and stuff like that and hear them operate. We have a bunch of audio, some audio stuff. We used to have some Evan doorbell recordings on there. We have some Church of Robotron sermons, and we have the Wildcard line, which is our audio zine, which is kind of like a call and response. It's like a call-in radio show, but not live. You can leave a message, and then we will curate them and play them and respond to them. And then we turn it into a little, podcast, I guess, but that's kind of highfalutin. But we turn it into that, and then you can hear other episodes of it and respond to those and talk back and forth. You can hear those on the web too, but all of this stuff is intended to be accessed from the phones. So we make them short because you might be sitting out there in the rain listening on the phone or something like that. It's all of these things are, the constraint is the interface is the phone. You have your microphone, you have your speaker, and you have your keypad. And I think from those constraints, a lot of creativity comes out of that. And we also have human operators. If you dial 0 from our phones, you can talk to a human for whatever reason you might want to talk to a human for. Our motto is operators are sometimes standing by. You're more likely during the day to get someone, but you can call it at any time, and all of our operators will ring. I think we have 8 operators right now. Anyway, and those are our services. They're all free, and all of them are available on the outgoing lines, and some of them are available from the incoming lines. The technology that it runs on is not what's exciting about the project. It's very simple. It's basically an asterisk VoIP server. And that's running on a DigitalOcean box, and there's an OpenVPN network in front of that because you never want to put an asterisk box on the open net if you can help it. Who's got time to keep track of the warnings about that? As soon as we do, we were playing around, we put one on the web once, and it took 30 seconds for people trying to rattle the doorknob and get in. And I think what most people try to do is, I'm sure there's exploits that get you in the box, but I think what most people try to do is just get free service and possibly resell it. But what a lot of people try to do, and this actually comes up at work sometimes too, is they're trying to get you to call toll numbers. So they get $1, or we're charged $1 and they get a nickel or something like that. So if someone can get a dial tone, they can make money off of that. And there actually was, I read about it recently, a payphone operator in, I forget what town. They had a lot of payphones, more than was really supported by the usage. And what they were doing was using those calls to call the toll-free numbers every minute or something like that. Using those phones to call the toll-free number every minute or something. Got $2.4 million from that, and then got caught. So the technology, the actual hardware and software is not so much interesting. What's interesting is that the way we use it, the services we provide. And it's all running on trash. It's all running on recycled hardware, old landlines. The routers, our VPN clients are obsolete routers running OpenWRT. And that's important to me. We're taking stuff from the waste stream, we're hitting it before it hits the smelter or whatever, and then we're reusing it. The boxes that turn the phones into VoIP phones are little SIP boxes like PAP2, stuff like that. And those are the most annoying things because a lot of those were sold by Vonage. You don't want to buy a used one because you don't know if it's carrier locked or something like that, which I find that to be extremely evil because think of all the resources. Chips are not eco to make. Think of all the resources that went into making those things. And they sold them as loss leaders. They don't want you using them for anything but their own service. So I used to try and buy them from Goodwill, and I just don't anymore because I had to throw half of them away. People say they have ways to bust them, including having your own FTP server to serve its config or something before you put it on the net or something. Sorry. It just infuriates me though. But that's what's interesting is not the technology, but what we do with the technology. And we got, we got the web stuff I mentioned before. We got a Twitter account, all the stuff you need to communicate with people. And of course, we have an IRC bot that we use for administration. And another important aspect is it's all volunteer run. Some people will get reimbursed for their expenses, but never everything they paid for it. You don't get all your gas money back, So, but it's all run on trash and run by volunteers. And it is funded by donations and grants. We have a fiscal sponsor that gives us 501c3 status, and and that opens a lot of funding opportunities to us. And most of the funding has come from grants, usually artistic, usually arts-based grants organization, which is interesting to me because so a lot of the arts-based stuff, there's a community aspect to it. The community aspect, the social service aspect, definitely is a draw for helping us get funding and from the arts organizations, because a lot of these are public stuff and public organizations or publicly funded organizations, and they want to use art to help the communities and placemaking or strong community stuff like that. But it's interesting to me because it is an arts organization. We're making a creative, artistic thing. But for me, the art is generated by it. The art is just what comes out of it. The art is how it's used and how it's, what we're doing is we're playing phone company, and then that turns into art. So it's always, I always feel kind of strange calling it an art project, even though it is. There's a lot of labor involved in hustling up the funds, and I'm really bad at it. And that's why Futel is currently broke. But we're scraping by. I like this image because one of the grants like to see matching funds. They like to see previous success. They like to see that you don't throw away the money, and they like to see that you have other support. So I was figuring out how to demonstrate that. And my friend worked for this company, Beeline, and they donated ad service to us. So we spent like $150 on these panels to make the panels. That's all they wanted. Just bring us the panels, and we will ride them around for free for, 20 hours or something like that. So they donated thousands of dollars of ad service just so we could show that we received several thousands of dollars so that we could receive several thousand more dollars. I don't know. It doesn't make that much sense to me sometimes. But so this guy, he's delivering actual physical goods, but he's also hauling around our ads just so he can haul around our ads. And anyway, I find that amusing. And a lot of other kinds of donations. A Portland ISP called FreeWire donated the internet service for the phone at Right to Dream 2, which is excellent. And they also have all internet service too. They can use it for whatever they want, which is a very important tool for them. Twilio donated service to us, which is great. FreeGeek's giving a talk tomorrow. They donated some hardware, and the Personal Telco Project has donated some hardware and expertise. A lot of free consultation from the Personal Telco Project, which is very excellent. So a lot of donations, a lot of stuff coming in just to allow us to do anything. So that's how we run it. That's how it works. The next question that a lot of people ask me is why? Like, what is the motivation? Why are you running a free phone company? Because as you might guess, there's no money in giving away free phone calls. And a lot of people say like, what's your exit strategy? How are you going to turn this into something that's going to be successful? And those people do not get it. A lot of people just say, wow, that's cool. You're giving away free phone calls or whatever. You're putting up payphones. And the first reason is one that everyone here will understand, which is just hacker power. Doing things. We're hackers. We like to take things apart, put them back together, and use them in ways that were not expected. So it's very unexpected for people to see payphones these days on the street. So if you can do it, you want to do it. You kind of have to do it because you can do it. All of this stuff, think about 20 years ago, it would cost a lot of money to do this. You would need equipment. You would need a building or a room. You need to rent a room in a building. You would have to have expensive equipment. You would have to have a lot more expertise than we have. And now it's a couple geeks and some DigitalOcean boxes doing it. So the fact that you can do it, it makes me want to do it. Another reason is that I need to have projects. I personally, if I'm not running a project, if I'm not doing something, I get depressed. I get perhaps suicidal if I don't have some kind of interesting thing going on. So I need to be doing something. Another reason is to help other people, to be at least partially non-cynical, because people use it. People use this a lot. I'll give some usage numbers in a little while, but people use this. So I heard a great Jason Scott quote. I forget where it was, but he said, you can still help people and still be an asshole. You don't have to lose all your cynicism, and there's a lot of cynicism in the Futel project too in a lot of ways. I like to bug people, I like to bother them, but the core of it is doing the right thing, doing good, and that's very important because it's a needed thing. And another reason is to have a creative outlet in an unexpected medium. Like I mentioned, the art comes out of the project in those ways. And the constraints of the project is where a lot of the creativity comes from. Because it's audio only, like that's a big constraint for us sighted people because of visual lives, Because people access it on the street in the rain, that puts a lot of constraints into it. And a lot of freedom comes from those constraints in my mind. This image here has nothing to do with Futel. This is one of the inspirations, my inspirations for doing this kind of thing. This was the apology line in New York City. I think it's New York City, 212. This was in the 90s and maybe the 80s. And it was basically voicemail as an artistic service done by a man named Alan Bridge. I hope that was his name. So it was basically a voicemail box. He put these flyers up, you call it up, and a recording would say, here, you may apologize. You've done wrong, and now you may apologize. We're not the law, we're not the church. Call from a payphone if you're talking about a crime. And beep, and you could leave your message and talk about what you did. And then he would, the wildcard line is basically inspired by that. He would curate them and make a little digest of them, and then you could comment on them. And so there was a lot of back and forth. A lot of talking about that. It was just voicemail, but it was really great. I got free phone calls back then, so I listened to it every week. He did it I think it was weekly or something. So it's fun to have a creative outlet in an unexpected medium, like the payphone. So originally, when I put up the first phone, I didn't put any copy on it. It just said phone. Didn't have any plates on it. Didn't have the Futel little thing on top. No logos. And I let people discover it, and I liked watching how it got used, who used it first. I don't know who used it first, but who started using it, and only word of mouth was the only way it might have spread, and it just got used more and more. Now I put these info plates on them. I try to kind of copy the way a payphone looks, or just all these bullshit little things you see on official type stuff. We have a designer that makes everything. It's great. I have no skills in this, but a volunteer designer makes all of them. And I like to think of it as like subversion in plain sight, because I mean, you have to read this. You have to read this to see that it's free. You know, you have to walk up and try to use it, and then I put little rants in there and stuff like that too, because like who reads this stuff? I do, because I'm always interested in seeing this official stuff. Like, why do you think that anyone should read this? Or all these rules, you know, why, first of all, why should I follow your rules? What's in it for me? Second of all, why did you want to tell me your rules? You know, why is this, I mean, if it's something that's going to get me kicked out, then that's, you know, something that's interesting. But a lot of these are on a phone, you know, or on the street, you know, no loitering, okay. You know, who cares? So I like putting I like kind of subverting that a little, but this does tell you that it's free. It tells you have 911 service, and it tells you to call the operator if you want to talk to an operator. And these, I don't know about most, but before we had the volume buttons on phones, a lot of phones have a little orange plate in the corner, about an inch or two, and the real phones, you know, pay phones, the instructions are number 1, stop. And then the second one is listen for tone, and the third is insert coins. But the first instruction is stop. Like, if you do not stop and follow these instructions, you are doing it wrong, and there will be consequences, you know. But you can do whatever you want with these phones, you know. And so we got a friendly voice that you can hear, you know. And you don't have to follow these instructions, but maybe we'll help you by helping with these instructions. So we like to work for people. So that's so subversion. People are confused by the phones. You know, people on streets with a lot of bikes, you hear people like, "Whoa, what is that?" You know, and then a lot of people use them. All sorts of people use them. A lot of homeless-looking people use them, but a lot of people I wouldn't expect to use them, and a lot of kids like to use them too. They like to pick up the phone, you know, and play with it, and then they start playing with it. Some of the operator calls are. I answer the operator call, and I hear a kid like, wah, 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 and I'm like, hello, operator, you know. And then usually what happens is a parent's like, hello, who are you? Why are you talking to my child? You know, like, well, your kid called the operator, you know, I'm talking to your kid, you know. So it's like, I really like the bot logic IO talk here earlier, because they tweeted to people who they thought were bots. They're like, we think you're a bot. Call this number if you don't think so. And they were like, well, if they call this number, we have an open mic in their room for as long as the phone is picked up. You know, so it's a way to be it's a way to confuse and annoy people, you know, and help them at the same time. So why payphones and landlines? Why is that our medium? Well, this is another group that doesn't really need to know that, because it's payphones, you know, it's freaker history here, it's hacker history, and of course we are the opposite of freaks. We are buying service and giving it away. So that's, you know, we're not freaks. We are, but that is why we wanted to put payphones up there. This is a issue of the YIPL, Youth International Party Line. It says October 1971. I think I got this from the Internet Archive. I don't know, you know, and they were sticking it to the man. They were doing it for many reasons, including being hackers, you know, you know, also the steal service, and to use it to communicate and stuff like that. So that, I mean, that's just something we like to riff on. I mean, that's why, you know, when we realized, hey, we can put payphones out there, then we wanted to do it. So it's a homage to the history of the freaks. And one thing that I didn't realize for a long time, like why were phone freaks, like why was that so big and important? And because back in the 70s and before and after, if you were an ordinary person, this was the computer that you could access, was the phone system. And it extended into your house and also an anonymous phone on the street. So that is what you got to hack if you weren't a researcher or whatever, you know, a geek, you know, not a geek, but they were geeks, but they were, you know, if you weren't a technician of that class, then this is the device you got to hack on to talk to a network. And of course the signaling was in band, you know, so it was accessible, and you know the story. So we respect that.
But there was another factor here.
There was another factor here?
Another factor here, because a lot of the early freaks were blind.
Oh, right, yeah.
That one, they used the phone more in tune, they did it be more in tune to things like tones and things, they, you know, so that sort of tied into the whole thing.
Yeah. A lot of them are blind, and that gave them like an edge. Yeah. Oh yeah. And many other factors too. Of course, if you want to see the history, read "Exploding the Phone" by Lapsy. I think did I pronounce that right? But anyway, yeah. So I mean, we're not freaks. We just. I mean, that's prime for the hacker is playing with the phone. Another reason is we just like phones and urban furniture. It's really fun to just put a phone on the street, to put a kiosk on the street, because that's another, like subversion. That's a kind of power. Like we get to put this device on the street in the urban environment, and we can talk to people. We can communicate with anyone walking down the street. We're just kind of nostalgic for the future we expected. Like if you read Neuromancer, Count Zero, they used payphones. No one expected that even though they had tiny computers, no one expected that the public terminal wouldn't be there. And there are very few public terminals now. There's ATMs, there's library terminals, and there were payphones. On the way here, on the airport here, I saw some workers scraping up some carpet in the airport in Portland, and I realized that there were phones there. Like the airports are some of the last holdouts for payphones, and those are going away too. So they're going away. They're being replaced with those stupid link things, which are not phones, and they're not there to help people communicate, that's for sure. If you look at the archives from the previous Hope to this, there's a great talk on those stupid, horrible link things. So that's going away. Everyone uses their pocket computer and their pocket phone, which is fine, although I can't believe people aren't getting mowed down from jaywalking, looking down at their phone and all that. There's nothing wrong with communication, but we are nostalgic for those things. We didn't expect them to go away. This is a payphone in Portland that got hit by a car, and I would hang around it, and I realized because I was wondering what would happen to it. Would it be replaced? Of course, it wasn't replaced. Now they're just taking phones and they're taking them out and not putting anything there. This one was only attached to the ground through a bolt. One bolt on the ground was still attached, and then there was a guy line going up to a pole to anchor it. So it would have been very easy to take, and I wanted to because it would be very easy to take because there was a cop station 2 blocks away. So like a white van, if you have a white van and some vests and some cones, like just sticking off the phone. But who's gonna question that in the middle of the day? I did not. I hope someone did, and not the phone company. But I'm sure it was the phone company that took it. So that's why our medium is the phone. It gives us a lot of reach. It gives us a lot of power, especially the incoming line. Anyone, anywhere can call the incoming line. Our goals. Oh. Yeah, sorry. Pardon, I'm talking. All right. So what are our goals? Our goals to continue this service are to continue installing and supporting phones. I mean, we like what we're doing. We're going to continue doing that. This is PhoneHenge, by the way. So I mean that's the core of what we're doing, and it's great. But there's also more. I'd like to expand the creative content involved. I'd love to do more artistic stuff. I would love to let people play Hunt the Wumpus on the phone or whatever, and other puzzles and things that people can do and contribute to. Interactive audio art is like the second thing that's very important. The administration, there's a lot of it's hard. There's a lot of work involved in just keeping it running and all that. But it would be good to expand to other accessible types of communications, non-permanent phones, event type things, maybe other communication tools, but based on accessibility. I'll talk about accessibility in just a moment, but based on kind of populism, radical accessibility is what I think of when I think of the phones. So we're gonna, and continuing to teach the children, continuing to teach people about what used to be there. I was my friend. This is pictures at tour camp. My friend was visiting once, and he with his son said, "Why don't you? Why don't you call mom? Call mom on the phone, Well, I like to tell kids it's great for prank calls, because kids don't know how to make prank calls anymore. So I just tell people that. My friend's like, oh, why don't you call your mom on the phone? And kid picks up the phone, and he's like, oh, it's broken. It just goes. So I like to put this kind of anachronistic thing out there, and the anachronism is part of the subversive thing in my mind. So let me talk about evaluating the project. Oh, excuse me, drinking out of this bottle. All right, evaluating any project is very important. It's very important for me. I have to budget my time these days because I have a daughter. And I also have a mother, so like this Futel is like my fourth job right now. My time is taken up. By the way, my daughter, I walked in the hotel room today here at the Penn, and she's talking to someone on the phone. She likes to pick up the phone and talk to people now. So it's important to evaluate what you're doing because time is short, these days. Should I be putting a picture of my daughter? Here, I'll put someone else's kid there. That's good. All right. So they knew I told them, don't worry. I didn't take any unallowed pictures. So every project needs evaluation right now. Because this is another thing everyone you know, but America is fucked, and we can never forget it. We have literal Nazis running the government. We have literal concentration camps, yes, and we have Nazis, public Nazis, walking around Hope right now, So it's important that we do the right thing. It's important that we think about what we're doing and use our powers for good. It's important that we use our abilities and stuff and evaluate what we're doing because, think about it. I always wonder, what were they doing in Germany, during the Nazi era, Well, now we know. There are concentration camps in America right now, dictionary definition concentration camps. So it's important that we do the right thing. So there's no shortage of things to do, and and I'm not saying we can't be frivolous. I'm not saying we can't never have fun or anything like that. But we have to evaluate our projects, and fuck those Nazis here at Hope, by the way, But we have to, yeah. I'm sorry. I need to stay on topic. But I got really stressed out. It was 2 hours before this talk, and I yelled at a Nazi in this very room, and it got me all I had to calm down. So it's important that we think about what we're doing and do the right thing, and that's why evaluation for a project is very important. Because I'm not saying don't do some stupid project, because Futel is a stupid project in a lot of ways. I'm not trying to judge anyone, but validate yourself in what you're doing. That's why evaluation is important. It costs money and time to do this, and everything needs validation. So how can we evaluate the project? So are the goals of the project being met is the first thing. And the easy way to do that is metrics. Metrics is just a highfalutin way of saying count what we're doing, And so I feel that it's very successful. These are our metrics for 2017. Over 19,000 outgoing calls, free calls given away. So it gets used a lot. One of our directory options is the mayor of Portland. Dial, for the mayor, press 1. So 57 people did that, yeah. And in Ypsilanti, too. You can call their mayor on there. One of our numbers is the Druid of Sisyphus Gardens. He's a friend of mine who lives in a rural area. He has a landline but no electricity. So I let people call him because he has a different attitude about a lot of things, and I think people want to talk to him. We have a voice conference. You need a voice conference. So people called that. And 84 people called the wildcard line and contributed to that. And 92 operators logged calls in 2017. So people were using that a lot. So I think, I feel like it's successful. Another way is to look at the side effects of the project, like I showed this slide already. But we got internet for a houseless camp, for houseless people. That is, it's going to help people find jobs. It's going to help people communicate. The phone itself has also been used for that. The gatekeeper, the door guard, credits us for saving someone's life. Someone was having a seizure, and he was able to call 911 on the Futel phone. So it's seeing the side effects is very good. And there's also the collaboration is also validating. For example, the Village Coalition, that's on the left there, they run these camps. They're not camps. They run these housing areas, even though some of them have tents. But anyway, they run these housing areas, and it's been fun working with them, seeing how they work, going to their meetings, getting ideas, giving ideas, and stuff like that. That is validating. And also the volunteers, people volunteers is validating. And then the final question is, are the goals correct? This is Gary. I named Gary. Gary was the neighborhood cat, but he loved to hang around the phone because people would pet him. So are we proud of the aspects of the service, which is fundamental? Are the goals good goals? And I think they are. It's useful.